Well, looks like I can't predict anything. Before we get too far into this week's review, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who liked and subscribed on last week's video. Last week I was feeling incredibly ill, it felt as though I could pass out at any moment, so to see everybody liking and subscribing as they did really did bring a smile to my face and really did perk me up at a time when I was just feeling very ill. As always, be sure to like, favourite, subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, please. It would do me a power of good to see that this week. And as always, be sure to support your local small content creators. Doesn't matter if it's me, it could be anybody you want. Give them a like, give them a comment, give them a subscribe, because it's always going to improve their chances in making it big on YouTube. You gotta feed the algorithm these days, because YouTube is an increasingly scary place for small content creators. Anyway, on to the review. Alright, now cards on the table. I was really nervous about going into this week's episode because I kind of had it spoilt for me in advance as to what was going to happen. I say kind of because I think somewhere along the line something was misinterpreted. As we all know, and as we have to address the elephant in the room, this is a show which is terrible when it comes to spoilers. Just about anywhere you go these days, it seems to have some kind of spoiler for My Hero Academia in some form or another. Especially egregious when you actually go onto the show's wiki page, and it just says there, right underneath someone's name, what's happened to them. Which is fine if it's something that's going to happen relatively recently, but when we're talking about story threads and aren't going to happen for possibly years within the anime itself, it's really kick to the knackers when you go there to just look up for a character's spelling and then find out something's happened to them, which kind of ends up really rubbing you the wrong way. And with this week's episode, I thought that things were going to go really differently. I thought that Class 1A was going to win it, so my prediction from last week wasn't so much me going, looking at all the data available to me, it looks like Class 1A have got this sewn up. No, I had it in advance. I thought that they were going to win it, and it turns out that whatever thumbnail or tidbit or little bit of information I heard was totally wrong, and this week we get a draw. We get a draw. I didn't think it was physically possible in a competition like this to actually get a draw. I thought it was either going to be a win or a lose kind of deal, but we got a draw, so this is what we have. I kind of admit that I think that the way that Pony went about it was a little bit cheap. I mean, her power set just seems to be a little bit in flux. As far as I was aware, it was just a thing where she could just shoot the horns out of her head and that was kind of it. I didn't know that she could control them to make them float about a bit, so I suppose I know that now. It's just that in situations like this, yeah, it feels rather cheap to have it happen, but hey-ho, I've done far worse playing games of Kill Team, but still, yeesh. Doesn't actually show an amount of skill there. It just kind of feels like they're playing the game rather than actually trying to win this superhero, supervillain roleplay thing that they've got going on. Still, you know, the fact that it didn't go the way that I thought it was going to do was a bit of a surprise to me. Like, I seriously thought that Class A was going to win it. I mean, you might disagree with me. By all means, if you could think of a way in which Class 1B could have actually won this thing handily, then by all means leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you shortly, either directly in the comments themselves or towards the end of next week's video. But for what it was, you know, it might have been a cheap draw, but still it actually worked out to actually add more jeopardy to this program. Something I've always been worried about with this particular story arc was going to be a lack of jeopardy, that it was going to be a little bit too much of a curb stomp for Class 1A, and as such it was only just going to be a matter of time until they just snagged all the victories, or it's going to be a case of midway through a fight we get a cut away to a different character in a different location, which is what we had last week, but still we've not really seen anything much like that again, and I hope that we don't see more of it. I just want to keep seeing with this particular arc more action, because when the action is unfolding it is done incredibly well. I'm not going to repeat the praise and comments I've had in the past, but just to briefly surmise it, seeing the characters use their powers in exciting and innovative ways is really a thrill to behold. And in this week's episode, particularly towards the start of it, we got some fantastic animation. The whole stuff with Tenya zipping about on the ice looks like something out of a movie, and that is something that I'll always enjoy. These brief flourishes of cinematic animation within this program really does make this show a real thrill to behold at the best of times. Yeah, there's still a few tweaks here and there which I wasn't exactly keen on, and at the end of the day the biggest issue that I have was exactly as to how Pony ended up getting the draw out of this. Like, the alternative I suppose would have been that she ended up losing it, because in reality that's probably what was going to happen. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I was half expecting that to happen, you know. She was going to try and make the big getaway, try and get the big win in the end, but then the guy with the tentacle arms would end up grabbing her or chucking something at her, and then they'd lose, and then that'd be the end of that. And a victory for Class 1A, but a hard-fought one, and that would have been it. And next week's episode would end up being the episode where Class 1B would end up winning it, and then just so forth and so forth. But you know what? This actually does make things a little bit more in flux. It's not going to be as easy as this team wins it this week, that team wins it next week kind of a deal. So it does add a little bit more jeopardy into this. As to actually how this will pan out as to who will win overall, it's kind of hard to tell. I've got this sinking suspicion that we'll actually get to the final fight, even if Class 1A ends up winning it. The Count Bludgular, or whatever his name is, going to say, haha, you actually didn't win overall Class 1A. You know, it's a 50-50 split. We both won an equal number of times if you include the draw. So, haha, we're not actually terrible. We're just as good as you, or are you just as bad as us? We'll soon see as far as all that stuff is concerned, but we'll get to that when we actually get to it. But what about you, dear listener? What do you think about this week's episode of My Hero Academia? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you shortly, either directly in the comments themselves or towards the end of next week's video. And be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, click the bell, and do all the YouTubey stuff that YouTube wants you to do, because as I say, YouTube is an increasingly scary place for small content creators. Support your local small content creator today. It will do them a power of good. Hey! As for me, you know, there's not much else for me to say. I will say this, though, for anyone who cares. Next week is going to be another audio-only episode, because I'm going to be going to a party later that day. I don't know how much time I'm actually going to have to work on the episode, so it may be incredibly short. We'll soon see. I just want to try and get it done the same day the episode airs, because, you know, that's the way that YouTube works. I'd be perfectly fine leaving these videos to some way midway through the week and just do them all audio, but I don't think that's what people want, and you know, you know how this works. It all has to be done instantly like that, or you get no traction whatsoever. And I want to see this channel grow. As much as it may be a hobby kind of thing, I like to see it grow. I like community. I like the back and forth that we have as a community, even though, to be honest, I've not really had much of it recently. But, you know, whatever. Again, like, say, favourite, subscribe. Not going to be doing a full video next week, just an audio-only thing, which, of course, will go to YouTube for those who care. Anyway, that's all from me. See you next time, and goodbye! Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, click the bell, and do all the YouTubey stuff that YouTube wants you to do. Go on, it'll do me a power of good. Until next time, my friends, goodbye!